Hold on, something's not quite right with the setup. These parts don't fit, and those need a tweak. Let's sprinkle in some of this. Shift that, and perfect. Now we're on track. You've likely heard the Easter story, but the original tale hides details that rarely surface in conversation. So, what was the first Easter truly like? And where do these odd traditions originate? In this journey, I'll unravel Easter's deepest questions. First, I'll dive into the biblical account, then trace how it transformed into the vibrant festival we celebrate today. Unwrap a chocolate egg and don your flashiest Easter bonnet. It's time to uncover Easter in a whole new light. Part I, the biblical Easter. The Easter story begins in the New Testament, specifically the Gospels Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. These four narratives recount Jesus' life, zeroing in here on his death. Though they follow a similar arc, each weaves in distinct details, some tucked away like Easter eggs waiting to be found. Our tale opens between 30 and 33 AD. A carpenter turned preacher named Jesus arrives in Jerusalem, whispers of his teachings and miracles swirling. Many see him as the Jewish Messiah foretold in ancient Hebrew texts. Entering on a donkey, he's met with palm branches and shouts of joy a king's welcome. Yet, in just a week, he'd be dead, though only briefly. Trouble sparks at the Jerusalem temple. Furious, Jesus flips merchants' tables and drives out vendors, decrying the temple's misuse as a den of thieves. This bold act enrages religious leaders already wary of his Sabbath miracles and challenges to Mosaic law. Behind closed doors, they scheme to silence him for good. Days later, Jesus shares a Passover meal with his disciples, a springtime ritual honoring the Israelites' escape from Egyptian slavery, when death passed over their homes. Known as the Last Supper, this meal is legendary, but Jesus reveals a chilling truth. One disciple will betray him. That disciple, Judas Iscariot, has cut a deal with the authorities. The Gospels muddy Judas's motives. Matthew and Mark cite 30 pieces of silver, while Luke and John point to Satan's possession. That night, Jesus leads his disciples to Gethsemane and Olive Grove. While they sleep, he prays alone, gripped by anguish. Luke notes his sweat becomes like blood droplets. Guards, guided by Judas, shatter the quiet. Judas betrays Jesus with a kiss, a gesture of friendship twisted into treachery, forever dubbed a Judas kiss. As guards seize Jesus, Peter swings a sword, slicing off a guard's ear, but Jesus heals it instantly. Amid this chaos, Mark's gospel slips in a peculiar moment. A young man in a loose linen robe flees when a guard grabs him, leaving the robe behind as he runs naked into the night. Scholars speculate this fleeting figure might be Mark himself, oddly inserted into the story with no clear purpose. Jesus is hauled before Jewish leaders, accused of blasphemy for claiming divinity. They demand his death and deliver him to Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor. Finding no crime, Pilate offers the crowd a choice: free Jesus or Barabbas, a notorious criminal. They pick Barabbas, dooming Jesus to crucifixion, a gruesome fate, where victims were nailed to a cross and left to die over days. Jesus drags his cross through Jerusalem's streets to Golgotha, meaning place of skulls, and is crucified at AM with two thieves. By PM, a strange darkness blankets the land, an ominous sign. Jesus' final words differ across Gospels. Matthew and Mark record, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Luke offers, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And John states, "It is finished," an earthquake erupts, the temple's sacred curtain splits, and Matthew adds a bizarre detail. Holy people rise from graves and roam Jerusalem, a symbolic nod to eternal life through Jesus' sacrifice. Jesus' body is wrapped in a linen shroud and laid in a rock-hewn tomb, sealed with a massive stone. On Sunday, women, including Mary Magdalene, visit the tomb and find the stone rolled away. A dazzling angel, clothed in white, proclaims he has risen. The women trembling, flee in fear. John's gospel diverges. Mary, alone, assumes the body was stolen until the gardener reveals himself as Jesus. Later, Jesus appears to his disciples. Some doubt, like Thomas, who insists on touching Jesus' wounds, earning the label Doubting Thomas. Jesus instructs them to share his resurrection news, then ascends to heaven, closing the biblical Easter saga. This narrative, whether you're devout or not, is a whirlwind of betrayal, miracles, and even a random naked bystander. Historians widely agree, based on sources like Roman Senator Tacitus and Jewish historian Josephus, that a man named Jesus was crucified under Pilate, grounding at least part of the story in history. Part 2. The evolution of Easter. After Jesus' resurrection, his story gained traction, spawning churches across the Mediterranean and writings that became the New Testament. Early Christians faced scorn, as seen in Roman graffiti mocking a donkey-headed crucified figure captioned, "Alexamenos worships his god," yet Christianity surged, with Rome eventually becoming its heart. Easter, first tied to Passover, emerged as a standalone holiday. In many languages, like French Pews, the name echoes Passover's Hebrew root, Pesach. In English, Easter may link to Eastery, a Saxon spring goddess, though its Passover TIs are stronger, with Easter possibly just an old term for spring. Eggs, Easter's signature symbol, have ancient roots. Cultures like the Phoenicians decorated eggs centuries before Christianity, viewing them as emblems of new life. Christians embraced this, seeing eggs as Jesus' tomb sealed, then broken open in resurrection. Red eggs, symbolizing Christ's blood, were popular, with records from 1290 showing England's King Edward I gifting 450 gold-leafed eggs. In Tsarist Russia, Feybergy's jeweled eggs, like one valued at $33 million, became treasures. Chocolate eggs arose in 18th century France, when King Louis XIV filled eggshells with molten chocolate, a luxury. By the 20th century, Cadbury's mass-produced chocolate eggs, flooding shelves. The Easter Bunny, rooted in European folklore as a fertility symbol, judged children's behavior in German traditions, rewarding good ones with eggs or treats. German immigrants brought this to America, where the bunny became a star, even sparking the White House Easter egg roll since 1878. Easter varies worldwide. Poland's playful water fights, the Philippines' intense crucifixion reenactments, where one man has been crucified 35 times. Each region adds its spin. For Christians, Easter is a sacred time to reflect on renewal. For others, it's a chance to savor chocolate. What unique Easter customs thrive where you are? Whether faith-driven or sweet-toothed, Easter unites us in celebrating new beginnings. If you enjoyed this dive, consider exploring more, like the Holy Grail's role in Easter's story, for another layer of intrigue.